Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Sail and Chat episode. And this is the still in recovery stage episode. This cold flu thing is totally kicking my ass. I'm not really sure exactly what it is yet. It's either a really, really bad cold or it's a flu. And it's just, I've been down and out for a number of days and, still recovering. So I'm just gonna try to get through this episode, as quickly as I can. And then, of course, back to the bed. All right, so what was I going to talk about? Okay, so a couple small things first, and then we'll talk about the big topic, which is going to take up the majority of the episode. And the big topic, of course, is World of Warships and the Alabama, and of course that whole situation there. And I'll get to that. That's actually it's a very interesting topic that we should talk about, and maybe I can offer you guys a bit of perspective and. Maybe if somebody at Wargaming watches it, maybe they'll have another idea, perhaps? We'll see. Anyway, so little things first. Dasha photos, I'm getting those mailed out ASAP, so, you guys will get them, so I promise that. And then, of course, for those of you who are watching the background and going, hold on, this is not World of Warships. Yes, this is Elite Dangerous. It's a game I bought many, many, many months ago. I think even during the previous... not the previous one, the one before that maybe even, or maybe even the one before that, during a Steam sale, I think was quite a while ago, and I bought it, never really played it at all. So, being sick and not really having much fun with either recording and not even Warships. I played like a potato on Warships when I tried. So, I got a couple hours, figured might as well try this game out and see, how it is. Not bad, by the way. I've actually had a reasonable amount of fun in the, I think, 2 or 3 hours that I've been able to get on in the game and jump around and do some exploring and stuff like that. Anyways, so, yeah, so Elite Dangerous, fun little game. And one other, I guess, little funny story is that just, I think, earlier today, decided that I really didn't have the energy to do any kind of cooking, so decided to get some Chinese food. And got Chinese food, and there's the fortune cookie at the end. I popped my fortune cookie open, and out came the little message, and it's like, you'll accomplish more later if you take some time for yourself. I think it's telling me to get back to bed. but, yeah, anyways. All right, so the little things are all aside. Let's talk about the big topic today, which is World of Warships and this whole Alabama thing. And let's just say first things first that I'm definitely not thrilled with the way that Wargaming went about this, like at all. This is just bad decision making, and somebody really screwed this one up. All right, but anyways, that's my opinion on the whole issue as a whole. But let's talk about the specifics, and I'm going to answer a couple of questions. And I think I'm going to answer the questions mostly first about super testers, and then about the whole Alabama thing. All right, so super testers first. Now, as a lot of you know, I used to be a super tester. Now, I had to give up my super test privileges because I had to choose whether to be a super tester or to be a World of Warships community contributor. And, if I wanted to make videos and make content for all of you, had to give it up. So I surrendered my super test privileges and became a community contributor. So what do super testers do? Because, hey, I was one, I know what's going on there. So I'll tell you that. I'll tell you sort of what super testers do and how the process works. So super testers, and they can really be typically anybody of any skill level and things like that, because again, just because you're, let's say, a 48%er doesn't mean you are somebody whose opinion isn't going to be valued, because you represent a certain, let's say, percentage of the population. So that's why the super test population is sort of, varied in terms of I guess abilities of the players. You have everybody from, in the 40 some odd percentages, you've got all the people up to like the Unicum level. So there's this nice big range. And their job is to test content before it gets to the live servers. So World of Warships, let's say the developers want to put in a new tech tree line of ships, let's say. So they model all the ships and they program them with all the stats and so on and so forth. And then, of course, they do some internal testing. And they go, okay, looks reasonable. Good. So they send it off to essentially, once they've done their first round of testing and everything, they send it out to the super testers on the super test server. Now, the super testers are given tasks essentially by coordinators and wargaming staff, and they're told, okay, today you're going to test this, this, and this, right? And you're going to test these tiers of ships, and you're going to test them this many times, and you're going to give us an impression. And so that's what they do. They test the ships. They, see if the ships are okay or whether they, need buffs, need nerfs, etc. They also look for bugs. If there are bugs and things, let's say there's an armor model bug or whatever, they'll try to spot that essentially ahead of time so Wargaming can fix it. Now, the super test process can last quite a while. This is not something that, is like, okay, it's, an hour and then you're done. No, this can go on for quite a bit. And the requirements for how much time you have to, commit into the super test program is actually quite high. They actually track the number of hours you spend on the super test server, and if you don't make the required cut, then you are given a warning, and after the second time, you are essentially dismissed from the super test program. So it is a lot of work, and it takes a lot of commitment to do it. So that means super testers often have to make a lot of sacrifices. Now, again, this was something that I had a lot of problems with back in the day when I had to make that decision. I had to choose because my time was almost completely committed into making content, testing stuff, making content, testing other stuff. And then, there was just not a lot of time left to do anything else. Now, of course, that was, I think, still at a time when things weren't as strict as they are now. I think it's even stricter now from what I, remember, I guess, as I was on my way out. That things were becoming even tighter. There was even more checks and, more supervision, shall we say. So, tough, demanding work. And in a lot of cases, you don't really, well, let's just say you don't really get appreciated sometimes by people. People don't really know what you do, and you're kind of this mystery group. So, super testers, right, make a lot of sacrifices to volunteer, to test things, and to make sure things come out that isn't broken. So this brings us to the first question, or the first issue, I guess, which is, should super testers get a reward? And have super testers gotten rewards in the past? And the answer to those questions is yes and a little bit. So let's talk about the little bit first. In the past, to the best of my knowledge, super testers have been given their own super test camo, and they've also been given a unique super tester flag. And the super test flag right now, if I remember correctly, is the same as the military month contributor flag. So, it's just a visual thing only. They don't really gain any additional benefits. But they do get a super test camo, so I guess that is something that is unique to them. But do I think super testers deserve something of their own as a way of rewarding them for their hard work? And I said yes to this particular question. I do think they deserve some kind of reward, right? So, much like the way that the alpha testers and the beta testers got something for their contribution to testing, I think the super testers deserve something as well. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is what has been decided for the reward and how this whole thing is starting to play out. So if you look at what's essentially now been designated as the super test reward, it's the Alabama. This is a ship that I know people out there have been waiting for. This is also happens to be the first Tier 8 premium U.S. battleship. So U.S. has never had a high tier premium battleship before, so this is the first one. And it's a ship that was just very, very highly anticipated. And although, if you look at everything we see so far, in terms of everything we know so far, the ship looks comparable maybe to a North Carolina. There are potentially some things that might set it apart, although we're not 100% sure what those are yet. But Still, it's a premium ship, going to have premium gains, and it's just a very unique ship. And the big issue here, is this is a ship, like I said, that a lot of people have been waiting for. You know, it's a relatively well-known museum ship, and it's brand spanking new. It's like something that hasn't existed in the game. And this is where the problem begins. By making this particular kind of ship exclusive to super testers, now you're starting to generate a bit of a problem. Well, actually, a pretty big problem. Excuse the understatement. This is where you start to have a real problem, because now you're giving a very, very small group of people, exclusive access to something that the community has been waiting for as a whole, without giving the community a chance to get the same ship. That's the biggest issue. That's where I think most people are upset about this whole thing, that this is something that they've been waiting for, and they're never going to get a chance to get it unless they become a super tester. And as many of you might be aware, the super tester thing isn't exactly open all that frequently. I actually don't remember seeing anything in terms of super test applications, at least open ones, at least for the last year, so ever since the release of the game. So all the people who've joined the game after this game has gone live, they've never had a chance to become a super tester. And yet it's people from way back that have, you know, let's just say they have spent the time. And again, like I said, you know, they do spend a lot of time, and I do think they deserve a reward. But you're essentially telling me that it's these extremely small group of people that are going to get this, and everybody else is out of luck, essentially. This is where I think Wargaming has a problem, and I think this is where they're really gonna run into difficulty with the community now. Because I think the community is fair, mind you. I think the community is fair, and for those of you who've listened to my description of the work that super testers do earlier, you know, you can understand and you can appreciate the amount of time and effort that gets put in. And by the way, when I say it, it's like having a second full-time job almost to super test. Like, that's how much time you're putting in per week to doing super test work. So it is a lot of work, and they do deserve a reward. But like I mentioned earlier, the problem is making that reward exclusive to the point where nobody else can get it. Now, Wargaming could have solved this problem very, very easily. What they could have done, truth be told, is they could have given a ship called, let's just call it the Alabama ST. Much like the way that we see the Iwaki Alpha or the Arkansas Beta, let's make one, call it the Alabama ST. Give it a unique super tester camouflage. Make it even into the colors of their flag. I believe it's blue, black, and white, I believe. You know, give them a camo like that. Make it so that they can stand out, look nice, and everything. And then what you do is you put, and let's say that premium camo that they have, the special one for super testers, let's say that camo even has something a little bit more. Let's say a slightly higher EXP or credit ratio. Let's just say that is a reward. But then you just bring out a normal premium Alabama, a normal one, and then just put that in the store for people to be able to acquire. And I think that would have solved the problem. Because, again, I truly believe people aren't being unreasonable when they're getting angry about this. Because they wanted the ship. They've been looking forward to the ship. And to be told, no, you can't have it ever, is a huge slap in the face to people, you know? And I think Wargaming could have handled this significantly better than the way they've done so far. And in fact, the current method that they have gone about handling this issue is frankly quite disappointing. I mean, my take on it is sort of, this has been decided, too bad, so sad, we don't really want to hear you talk about it, or we don't really want to hear you complain about it, to the point where, you know, threads are locked and things like that. And that's not the right way to go about this. Like I said, it was a very easy way to have, done this whole thing. You simply had a separate ship, named it a little bit differently, and then gave that one to the super testers, and then just sold the one normally. Instead of coming out publicly on the forums and going, nope, too bad, this is exclusively a ship for a very small select group of people that you haven't really opened up applications for in quite some time. So that is where I have a big problem with what's happened this time. And it's frankly, frankly, I think Wargaming's decision is actually quite silly. I'm trying very hard. I'm trying very hard in this video not to call any groups of people anything terrible. I'm trying to actually do that. Not because I don't want to use anything kind of offensive. It's not that. It's just that I feel like if we go about screaming or shouting and swearing at people, we're not actually going to bring about any kind of change. I think that there is a need to talk about this in a civil manner. It's not going to stop me from saying this is absolutely the dumbest thing ever, but I'm not going to go around and curse and swear and yell about it. But, it's silly. This whole thing, this whole entire situation could have very easily been remedied. And I think it would. I think there's. Let's just say we did it the way that I mentioned earlier. Like, I don't think anybody would have really come out and, okay, well, maybe you'd have the one. I mean, there's always the one. But large groups of people, I don't think, will be angry and upset about about the situation that it has, so far. People, I believe, are reasonable. They know what kind of work goes in. And I think they can understand that they might deserve something. But I just think that the way that's been done right now is a big no. Like, you have to consider the fact that the Alabama isn't just some fictional Russian paper ship. It's not like the Molotov. It's like, all right, Molotov, great. Like, some ship in history. Like, at least for the North American audience, nobody's gonna care, right? But the Alabama is a ship that's been preserved. It's a museum ship. People have spent nights on this ship when they were children. There's emotional attachments to the ship. And these are the people that might have waited for the ship for a while, never got it. I mean, again, like I said, like recently I was on vacation, right? And I went down to the US and I saw a lot of the ships in person. I would want those ships in my port. Just because I've seen them in person, I have some degree of emotional connection to them. I'd want a Yorktown class carrier in my port. I'd want an Essex class carrier, if I could name it the Yorktown, in my port. I'd want one. I'd want something like the North Carolina in my port, right? I mean, these are all things that people have emotional attachments to, and they've been waiting for this particular shift. So at least some people definitely have been waiting for it. And then to just simply go, no, you can't get it. Too bad. Doesn't matter how much you want it, you're not getting it. That's I can't even find the word for it. I mean, that's just unbelievably terrible of a decision by somebody in management. Like, somebody higher up there, has just, I don't even know. Like, this idea, I don't even know where this came from. Like, who in upper management sat down and said, you know what, we should really do something to go make a whole bunch of people angry. Just so we can reward a very small population of people, for their work. I understand. Like I mentioned earlier, I get it. Super testers do a lot of work. But do they deserve access to a completely exclusive ship that nobody else will ever get access to? Oh, hell no. No. I cannot justify that at all, period. Whoever came up and sat down and said, hey, this is a great decision, let's do this, at Wargaming needs to really give their heads a good check. Like, this is a bad decision, and you guys need to relook this decision. And you have to figure out some kind of compromise. You can even hold back on the reward for a little while and say, you know what? Maybe we can look at this from a slightly different way. Maybe we can reconsider this decision. Actually, two other things. And I'm getting upset, and I know that. I'm actually getting upset because I'm starting to repeat things, and I know this much as well. That when I get really mad, I actually have a tendency of doing this. But two other things. Super testers, they are supposed to be the ones to balance stuff. Well, how the hell are they balancing something that they're having exclusive access to? And this is a problem. That's a conflict of interest. They shouldn't even be in this balancing process if this is something that they're going to be given. So, what then? Do you get another group of people to balance things the super testers are balancing for themselves? Like, that doesn't work, right? So that's a problem. There's another problem here, too. There's another problem. Now that you've officially come out, at least, Wargaming, now that you've officially come out and you've said, hey, super testers, they get this reward that's unique to them, that's an exclusive. Well, the next time super test applications open up, I mean, everybody's going to want to get in. Everybody's going to want to get in on that super test or into that super test program, not, for the fact that they get to test things and whatnot and see things maybe ahead of time and be a part of that process, which, mind you, I did it completely voluntarily as something just to contribute rather than please give me something in return. Like, that's not the goal and not the that's not your motivation to join this kind of program. Your motivation should be, like, I can make this better. I can help and contribute to making this better. Instead, now you're going to have a future super test application open up where the motivation is, well, hey, I might be able to get this kind of ship in X amount of months. Like, this is a bad precedent, right? This is a really bad precedent. Now, if the current batch of super testers get this, so, this Alabama thing is going to be a reward now. Okay, so somebody else just has to get into super test, tough it out for 6 months, and they get theirs now? Like, or are they going to get something different in the future? See, that's a problem. I don't know. This whole thing is just a bad call. I mean, once you have anything that's exclusive, you set up a whole different kind of motivation for the program. It's not a good decision. And just, I don't know, this whole situation, top to bottom, was poorly handled, poorly dealt with, and, just somebody in upper management really should re-examine this whole thing. And finally, one last thing, which is, I actually do feel bad for super testers, because they're the ones who are going to end up with the ship. They're the ones who are probably going to go into battle, and they're probably going to take some abuse for it. I really do feel bad for them. I mean, they really do deserve something for the amount of time and effort they put into things. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there was a better way to reward them instead of giving them something like this, total exclusive, which means now they're going to end up with a bunch of hate. And I really think Wargaming could have handled this better. Now, in the event that you do see a super tester with an Alabama, let's say in a battle, understand that, yes, they deserved it. But at the same time, understand that Wargaming really screwed this one. Like, they just screwed this one really, really bad. This was just, I said this already before, this is just a terrible, terrible, terrible decision. I still cannot understand why and who and how this whole thing came about. Cannot fathom how this was their solution to this. Just, Anyways, what do y'all think, right? Now that you've heard what I think on the subject, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you not agree? Do you think my solution, which was, the one about giving them basically a duplicate ship with a different name and, let's say, slightly different camo, do you think that would have been acceptable to all of you if you had a chance to actually purchase the ship as well? Let me know in the comment section below. Anyways, folks, hope you enjoyed the sale and chat. I'm going to I'm gonna go and get some more rest. I'm still not fully recovered. My head's pounding right now, so I'm gonna get some more rest, and I should be up and about probably another day or two. Hopefully, after another night's of good rest, I should be good tomorrow, maybe day after. And then, of course, I will be trying to pump out as much content for all of you as possible because I'm actually quite a bit behind. There's all those things I saw during my trip, and I really want to share with all of you. Anyways, folks, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to all of you again really, really soon.